I'm embarking on an epic adventure. From spectacular natural landscapes to the busiest cities in the world.
China, a place to explore the treasures of an ancient civilization.
I find this really very special indeed.
A culture that has lasted for thousands of years and which continues to shape this great nation.
I've really been looking forward to seeing this. And to truly understand the secrets of a country's soul, I think you need to immerse yourself in its art.
Time for the journey to begin. Shanghai, the place to explore the ancient links between art, trade, and mass production. What does an extraordinary embroidery reveal about the stories behind the most widely known export of this ancient country? And a rare opportunity to take a closer look at other world-famous cultural relics and explore the origin of terracotta warriors and the art behind the Made in China phenomenon.
The world's busiest container port might seem a strange place to start a story about Chinese art, but with the exchange of goods, and this place handles something like 40 million shipping containers every year, comes an exchange of ideas. And here in China, the links between art and trade, culture, mass production, beauty and big business, they stretch back for centuries, even millennia.
Shanghai, China's business hub and home of some of the country's most precious cultural relics and distinctive artworks. It really is the place to come to immerse yourself in the art of China.
I remember when I was growing up eating every day out of a beautiful small blue and white china bowl that was decorated with this very delicate floral motif. I mean, it was nothing special, just a knockoff, I guess, imitating the sort of thing commonly found in China. But for a young boy, this simple dish acted as a stimulant on the imagination, evoking a fantastical, faraway world. It was my first impression, really, of the Far East.
More than just an everyday utensil, nothing less than a taste of one of the most successful export products ever. The perfect combination of superb workmanship and marketing, all made in China. Located in People's Square, the Shanghai Museum features some of the very greatest ancient artworks in its collection, not least precious porcelain items, what is sometimes known in the West as China.
The majority of them were made for export, for the Islamic market. And you know the cobalt comes from the Islamic world too, probably.
So hang on, the cobalt is the mineral that's used...
The mineral that gives the blue color of this porcelain, you know. This is called...
Chen Jia works in the ceramics research department of the museum.
Why was it that there was a desire in the Middle East for dishes like this?
This is part of their tradition to eat, eat together.
Communal eating?
Yes, sitting on the floor and sharing food together. So the big dishes are perfect for that.
Here's an example of Chinese potters in business marketing this product.
Yes.
For Middle Eastern customers,
For the Middle
essentially.
East customers, of course.
In the mid-Ming Dynasty, blue and white porcelain became popular in China.
Ah, this is very, very different.
Yes, quite different. This piece was made inside the imperial factory at Xi'an in Jingdezhen. This is quite a very important and big factory, recruited the best craftsmen and workers there.
Porcelain objects made in the late Ming Dynasty were also decorated with famous Chinese motifs. Some even featured landscapes and poems.
Sitting alone in the shady bamboo grove, playing the musical instrument and singing at the top of my voice. Deep in the forest, there's nobody else, or in bright moonlight shining on me.
I love this idea that here's a silent, mute object,
Yes.
but we're meant to imagine this man singing with gusto and abandon in this poetic setting by himself in the moonlight.
At this time, blue and white became a symbol of, elegance.
In the 16th century, a new overseas trade market appeared. Chinese porcelain became popular in Europe. Porcelain became known as the white gold. This particularly notable piece is not on public display. It's usually safely stored away in the vaults of the museum.
Can you recognize this one?
It's, strange phrase, armillary sphere. It's an astrolabe, a navigation tool.
So this is a piece specially ordered for the Portuguese king. This kind of piece is called first orders in the West. Compare this armillary sphere with the real one. You can sense the difference.
The letters don't really look like any letters I recognise.
Yes, because this is the first encounter of the West and China. So Chinese potters, they do not understand Portuguese. When they are sent something to copy, they cannot recognize the letters.
So this is at the very beginning of that whole explosion of this desire for blue and white porcelain in Europe.
Yes, that's it, the first order.
Over the course of 200 years, literally tons of porcelain items made by artisans were shipped overseas. No matter how European artisans tried, they still couldn't reproduce the elegance, luster, and hardness of the Chinese blue and white porcelain.
I can see the words check-in everywhere, but somewhat naively I thought the destinations might be in English as well. Xi'an, I need to find the right check-in desk.
So, what was the mass production technology used by Chinese artisans? And how did the combination of art and trade influence ancient Chinese culture? There's only one place to go in search of the answers to those questions: to Shanxi, to find out more about how its world-famous ranks of terracotta warriors were produced. Xi'an, capital city of Shanxi province in northwest China. The home of the mausoleum of Emperor Qin Shi Huang and its ranks of terracotta guardians is the go-to place if you want to know more about how China's mass production technology influenced its art and culture.
In 1974, a group of farmers were digging a well in a parched field when they unearthed a fragmentary clay figure which had remained underground, undisturbed for 2,000 years. The Terracotta Army is one of the earliest examples of something we still associate with modern China. Highly skilled production on a colossal scale.
Only the lucky few get the chance to walk among the massed ranks of these terracotta warriors.
As soon as you get down into the pit itself, it completely transforms the way you think about the Terracotta Army, because at first glance, up above, you see these massed ranks of soldiers standing to attention for all eternity. It's a very eerie sensation. But when you're in among them, suddenly, instead of uniformity, you start to see glimpses of individuality. There's a sense here of an artisan's approach within that bigger concept of mass production. So someone has specialized in thinking of particular facial features, putting the cheekbones in a certain place, perhaps adding a beard, in other cases changing the shape of an eyebrow. And then you can find underneath some of the warriors a stamp of approval, a stamp of quality control, telling you this piece was made in the imperial workshop and this man is ready to guard the emperor for eternity.
This one, this is artisan create. This is from Xi'an. So you can see
How many thousands of artisans worked on the mausoleum? And how did they manage to produce so many high-quality terracotta warriors? Archaeologist Li Shoujian has just made a new discovery that casts much light on these questions.
this is what I like to show you.
Okay.
The trigger, the crossbow triggers. So
It looks really precisely engineered and created.
yeah, so this each part they were cast in a ceramic mold, fastened with 2 pins. We can see the 2 pins here. So and that's fixed in the wooden stock of the crossbow.
So is this a working trigger?
Yeah, working triggers. This is in Chinese character 5. This is the number 5.
What's the significance of that?
That means that's for the assembling sequence.
An early example of a kind of assembly line.
You are right.
The terracotta warriors are among China's greatest treasures. The technology developed by the artisans who worked on the assembly line 2,000 years ago is just as relevant as ever. Meanwhile, back in Shanghai, a chance to learn about one of China's most exquisite treasures, silk. For thousands of years, the art of silk production was protected as the Chinese trade secret. Luxurious silk textiles were coveted all around the world, and delicate silk embroidery was revered above all.
I must say, I find this utterly beguiling. There's a man on horseback approaching on a bridge, the swirls of the clouds above and all of the rock formations. If you look really closely, you see here quite extraordinary innovation, and technically it's virtuosic. But someone has created this using a needle which have been used to imitate washes and brush strokes, different colours, light and dark. All of the painterly effects and repertoire have been summoned here using silk. It's quite astonishing, actually. Use perhaps ones which are not really detectable, because when you first look, it's got the shimmer. It feels like a butterfly.
Yes.
And this is what this helps you analyze how she's created it.
它那画稿就是它的绣本，它画好以后直接绣在上面，所以它的画稿是绢本的。先绣一层，然后它看整体效果，然后它再补充再绣一层，层层直到绣到满意为止，就是蚕丝。 就是它的一个特性，它可以折光，所以当就是这个绣完了以后，它会反射出一个亮的感觉，一个鲜艳的一个色彩的感觉。它的特点就是它敢不绣，能够表现出这个花瓣，它就是不受限制，而非要这边要绣，它可以脱离这个窠臼。
Suzhou, home of traditional silk production, is 100 kilometers west of Shanghai. For generations, it echoed to the sound of waterways, ships, and the hustle and bustle of trade, not to mention the whir of spinning wheels and the clack of looms. Even today, it's still possible to find traditional weavers here.
When we look into the detail of the fabric, we realize actually it's so delicate. Even the modern machines, we sometimes can't make stuff like this.
Shu Ting and his mother run a premium silk brand. Although they sell modern silk products, they also uphold the traditional cultural heritage of the silk industry. The fabrics are made by local embroiderers who received training in the Sioux embroidery tradition.
It feels like someone is sitting at front of an organ keyboard with pedals.
Yeah.
And there's someone else who's sitting up like in a kind of crow's nest. What are they doing then to create the silk? How does this work?
The pattern you see on the picture is decided by the lady upstairs. And the color for the pattern is decided by the lady sitting down.
So basically, the person who's working here doesn't need to concentrate on which threads are raised at all.
Exactly, yeah.
They just concentrate on making sure the colour is deployed perfectly. What happens if you make mistakes?
The whole thing gets ruined.
Is this your mum?
Yes.
Hello, hi, Alistair.
欢迎你。
Lovely to meet you. This is one piece of embroidery.
是的。
This is Suzhou as it appeared in the Ming Dynasty.
Yeah.
This gigantic embroidery work is based on a landscape painting by a local Suzhou painter from the Ming Dynasty.
How long will it take to finish this?
我们要花就是2年多的时间。国画我们要去做出来，今后是为了我们去展陈，就在博物馆里展陈，到最后是我们要传承这种文化，大家就是要普及这样一个苏绣。
Has your mum taught you the technique of Sioux embroidery?
Oh yeah, she's always trying to get me into it, and it's interesting. Even though it's the delicate work for a lady's hand, but you know, sometimes I try with it.
When I was growing up, the phrase "made in China" it had certain connotations, signalling something definitely cheap, probably a little bit plasticky, more affordable than aspirational. But just think of all of those historical Chinese industries, and really they were industries, manufacturing moon-white Ming vases and elaborately patterned silks. 2 examples of mass production that's also simultaneously artisanal and high-end. Here in China, beauty and big business, they've always gone hand in hand.